What's up, Buffalo Nation?
Seems like that
Discipline,
could be a bunch of different ways to go
discipline
about it.
does not just start on the field. Discipline starts off the field, and they carry it.
Today, we've got several great news stories for you, so let's get started. Our first story today is about Coach Prime letting his opinion be known about a certain NFL quarterback that's in the news. For those of you who may have missed it, the NFL world has been on fire recently about a shocking move that New Orleans Saints backup quarterback Jameis Winston made. We're also going to talk about Coach Prime landing another superstar transfer and maybe some other great stories. So grab you a cupcake, sit back, and get ready because this is the prime time for college football. Our first story today, we're going to talk about New Orleans Saints backup QB Jameis Winston, the drama surrounding him, and then talk about Coach Prime's thoughts on this. Now, recently, Jameis made headlines when the New Orleans quarterback decided to ignore a coach's call and run a completely different play. If you missed it, it was the last play of the game that the Saints would have. The head coach put them in victory formation to kneel the ball down at the Atlanta Falcons' 1-yard line. All the Saints players tried to talk the coach into letting them score, but he refused. Well, Jameis Winston heard the coach's call, but instead of taking the knee, he put it to a vote in the huddle on the field, he later said. The Saints team all voted to run the ball and score, and so on the very next play, New Orleans gave the ball to Jamal Williams, who scored a touchdown. For those that may not have known this, Jamal Williams led in touchdowns last year, and this year hadn't had one yet. So on the final play of the last game of the season, he did get his touchdown. Now, I know that ignoring a coach isn't generally the right thing to do, but the New Orleans coach is also very disliked by his players. And today, there are a lot of rumors out there about Jamal Williams having a contract incentive based on this touchdown. And basically, all of the members of the New Orleans team have come out swinging and completely supporting Jameis's decision. Coach Prime even got in on the issue on Twitter, and he liked this tweet that we'll show you on the screen now supporting Jameis. It's Ryan Clark saying, "I love Jameis Winston. I just want to chop it up with the dude. At Jabbo Wins, Jameis's handle, we appreciate you." What was he appreciating for? Well, in the locker room after the game, he was asked about the play specifically. And here's what Jameis had to say.
Well, I apologize to DA because the play was victory. But I also explained to DA that it was a team decision. And I think when you have a team morale, and I asked the guys, I say, guys, like, what do you want to do? We know how much Jamal means to this team, and I understood from DA's perspective. So I give him that. But DA didn't condone that at all. You know, he didn't. However, we decided as a team to do it, and man, we got an interception to the 1-yard line. You know, like. So if we would have scored, it still would have been disrespectful?
Right.
You know, so
Tyron wasn't in on it, was he?
No, Tyron was not in there.
No, I'm just kidding.
Like it was an offensive team discussion. However, when you return the ball to the 1-yard line and you have that opportunity, we just had that opportunity and we decided.
Do you think it's the kind of thing though that is forgotten fairly quickly, or you know what I mean?
I think it should be forgotten, especially when the score is already 41-17. So I don't know how much worse it can get.
There's a couple more minutes of them going back and forth with him. I'll link the tweet in the description. You should certainly go watch the whole thing. I did love that little jab at the end, though. Sorry for any Falcons fans that might be watching. I know Coach Prime was there at one point. But for him to say, yes, it should be forgotten about. The score was already 41-17. I don't know how much worse it could actually get for Atlanta. One more subtle jab there between the rival teams. Sorry, not schools. I'm in college football mode. But yeah, Jameis, a hilarious guy. If you've not seen others of his clips, others of his interviews, other things that he's gone on record and said, he is a funny guy. And I understand both sides of this. I understand the side that says, hey, if your coach tells you to do something, you need to go out and do it. I will say this, though. No one ever has a problem with players checking into another play at any other time in the game, right? If a coach calls a pass and they notice something on defense and the quarterback checks into it, we don't have a problem with him going against the coach there. It's just in the victory formation. Now, at the end of the day, they did what was right by getting their teammate another touchdown or a touchdown. I don't believe that Jameis and the team wanted to play that in victory formation. I'm sure they just wanted to line up in a regular formation and try and get the touchdown. And I understand sportsmanship and I understand everything else, but the Saints were eliminated from the playoffs. They weren't playing the next week anyway. The Bucs had already won and claimed the division. The Saints were out of it at that point. And so why not let one teammate who did a lot for you last year get that one special moment? I think that it's telling that Dennis Allen and others in the media have kind of slammed Jameis for this, but every single one of his teammates has come out and supported him. And even Deion Sanders, by liking that tweet and showing his support for what Ryan Clark was saying, kind of shows you that he agrees with it too. And you'd think that a coach would be more on the New Orleans coach's side, right? Like a coach would say, oh, you gotta listen to everything your coach says. You can never go off road. You can never do something different. Not necessarily what Coach Prime's telling you by what he's liking on Twitter, what he's supporting on Twitter, the people that he's siding with on social media. Interesting, and it's certainly set the NFL world on fire. It has certainly caused people to have very harsh opinions. I'd love to know your thoughts. Are you with Jameis on this? Are you against him? Are you with Coach Allen? Are you with Winston? And at this point, Coach Prime, maybe that'll convince you to be more on the Winston side of things because that's where Deion Sanders seems to be. Hey, we started a Discord and a Patreon. We've had a couple of you go check that out. You can do so by hitting the description. Discord is free. Patreon you can sign up for a couple of dollars a month. We're going to be a little more active over there and certainly try to build a little bit of a community. So go check that out in the description if you haven't already. Next up, let's talk about Colorado landing a new transfer commit. Now, recently, Colorado signed former Oklahoma State defensive back DJ McKinney. Now, over there at Buff Stampede, my guy Adam has talked about how McKinney graded out at a 68.8 on Pro Football Focus, PFF, on 596 defensive snaps in 14 games as a redshirt freshman. It's essentially replacement level to just above, kind of in that mid-range status as far as defensive backs go. But he had a ton of experience, and on an Oklahoma State team that did make the conference championship, he was the second best among Cowboy cornerbacks. Now, opponents only had a 44.9% completion rate when they were throwing his way, so he certainly did a good job of breaking things up, and he also had 38 tackles and 24 solo stops. He had a really good year, and you'd hope that he can continue that as he stays in the Big 12 to now play for Colorado. Obviously, Oklahoma State there, he may have to see his former team in the near future. But I'm excited for this pickup. I think that depth in your defensive backfield is always a big deal. I think that bringing more guys in that can help you raise the floor is a big deal at such an important position. I obviously want to see them continue to grow that linebacking and defensive line rooms, but bringing in a really solid transfer here in the defensive backfield, never going to be something you complain about. A guy who can play multiple years, has multiple years of eligibility left. I'm really excited for this pickup with DJ McKinney. Hey, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed that game last night. Hopefully we can see Colorado playing in something like that really, really soon. I appreciate you guys for all the love and support that you give the channel. Thank you for letting me go off on kind of a funny NFL story that Coach Prime got in the middle of on Twitter and showed some support in his likes for. I appreciate you guys a ton, and thank you for watching the Prime Time for college football.